You know, in the fall of 1990, when this big story broke, a lot of people were not surprised. There was rumors that players in the Oilers were being involved with cocaine as early as the mid-1980s because of the Sports Illustrated article. But when the Edmonton Journal investigation pretty well led to Grant Fuhr's admission that he used cocaine for quite a probably since the start of his career, the NHL took quick justice. They had suspended Fuhr for about a year, but the suspension was cut back by a number of games, I think 23. But Grant Fuhr's personality and his dedication to hockey cannot be argued. This guy went through a lot as a player, but it was all kind of different allegations that drug dealers had Grant under his spell. Grant said in published reports he started almost a recreational drug and it went out of hand. A former spouse had provided information to different members of media what was going on, and his fellow players, including Esa Tikkanen, expressed privately and on the record about their concern about Grant. Now, we all know how it ended up. He did leave Edmonton later on, but had successful runs with Buffalo, Toronto, a few other teams, and of course, Grant Fuhr, more than a top 10 goalie in the modern era. He basically, as a person of color and a person of Aboriginal descent as well, a role model to many people across Canada, across North America. But it was a different time because in the 1980s and 90s, cocaine and steroids were a big issue, and because Edmonton was a marquee team, 5 cups, and this story broke, of course, after they won their last cup in 1990. It was before a European tour, and when this became public knowledge, it was very shocking. But again, 31 years later, we look back and say Grant Fuhr has basically cleaned up his act over the years. NHL has cleaned up his act. There's more outreach for people with addictions, but it could have been a lot worse. Grant could have overdosed or died. The people in his circle could have done the same thing, or it could have been an unfortunate situation where more players in NHL would have got addicted because they felt, that was the thing to do. Well, all I can say is this: when that story broke, not as big as the Gretzky trade, but boys, it was up there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to do your own research on this. There's various YouTubes and articles, Edmonton Journal, Washington Post, New York Times, CBC. But the Grant Fuhr of 1990, the honesty he showed in making public or confirming what went on, and he said, I'm straightening myself out, and that's the first step, to ask for help. Thanks for listening, and keep your stick on the ice. Bye.